You're the second one who's asked me that question in the last 24 hours.
So what are you doing here?
I'm remembering. Isn't that what he told us to do? In this very room, not more than a few hours ago. Remember me. That's what I'm doing, Simon. I am remembering. What about you? What are you doing here?
Forgetting. Wishing I could. I'd give anything to lose my memory here, right now. I can't think of anything more horrible than remembering. But I should think you'd find your own memories pretty miserable.
Unbearable. Unbearable, that's what they are. Yes, I'd say unbearable is the word. But I don't think I'll bear them much longer. But by heaven, I am bearing my memories now. I bear them like a cross.
You can't say that, Judas. You have no right.
No, but I have the need to remember where I've been with him and what I've done to him. So do you, Simon.
Is it safe? Do you think it's safe here?
It's a safe place. It's a terrifying place. Shall I tell you where my memory was when you came in?
Was I there?
You were always there, Simon. My story and your story are very much the same story. You were there. It was last Sabbath in Bethany, the supper we all had.
I remember. Why are you thinking of that now?
Because death was all over him. Now, just as surely as death is all over him this very minute. In the space of 5 days, he fed us 2 suppers of death.
But Martha fed us that night.
Martha fed us all right. I admire that woman.
She's a lot like you.
And like you. We're a trio. You, Martha, and me. People who know how to get something done. Not afraid to say what has to be said or to take charge when somebody needs us. But I'll tell you, it made my skin crawl to sit there beside her brother, the ex-cadaver. It would help if he weren't so quiet, if he'd lowered the glow in his eyes. But the sister's worse, Sister Mary. How much perfume did she soak him in? A gallon? Do you know how much that kind costs? She was holding in her hands the equivalent of 10 months of wages. I couldn't believe she had it. And to anoint him with just a little would have been a wonderful gesture. But to put it all on him, well, it was sort of sick, wasn't it? But I suppose she can be excused. She's an emotional, irrational woman. And she's affected by this thing with her brother. But I don't understand Jesus just sitting there and let himself be the object of all of that. He changed, didn't he? He used to be like you and like me, like Martha. He used to get things done, feed people, heal them, challenge them, change them. But then he turned quiet and patient and passive as Lazarus. So much energy used to flow out of him. And then one day it's like the river started flowing backwards. He lets everything flow back on him, on him, like the perfume. It could have gone out, it could have been sold to feed people. I said so, but he rebukes me and lets it all flow onto him. And he looks at Lazarus and says, did you hear him? He says, this is for my burial. Burial. I enlisted to follow a commander, not a corpse. And Simon, tonight in the garden, when I pulled his face to mine to kiss him, I smelled it. I smelled his sweat. I smelled the earth on him. And I swear I smelled that perfume. Still there. Her lavish love, my kiss of death. He kept both of them.
It's last night's meal that I can't forget. He was so right. I did not understand what he was doing when he began washing our feet.
You were not the only one confused last night. What he said made no sense. I always thought that action, political action, was enough. But
was it really his way or our way that put him there?
he knew what he was doing and where it was leading him. I didn't always believe that, but you heard him. This is my body, and this is my blood. He knew it. It was what he wanted.
Oh, I longed for the Passover that for a long time, that I dreamed of the dances and the songs and the food, the memories we would share. But where is the cheer of Passover now? Where is the memory of deliverance from death and persecution now? Where is our hope now? No, stop there, Judas.
Was he too good for this? And am I not good enough in your eyes? Peter, my problem is that I stopped believing that he was the Messiah. And your problem is that you never let yourself even so much as question it. Simon Peter, always sure.
Yes, always sure and quick with words, always quick and sure with regret.
Simon is what he said to do. Is it the way of the heart, a way of remembering what we had together?
Now, how did you feel when he washed you?
I felt embarrassed. I felt shamed. Like the whole world knew my sin and the hypocrisy of somebody like me, letting somebody like him wash my feet. Everyone in the room despised me for what Jesus was doing. I felt shamed. I felt dirty.
And at the same time, like there was nothing you could ever do that would stop the love that he showed? Dirty, and at the same time, clean.
How could his hands on my feet make me feel clean? Especially after he turned my secret loose in the room. One of you will betray me. It was like a knife cut me open, and my heart was hammering so hard in my chest that I thought I would explode. Where was he looking, Simon? Where was he looking when he said those words? I couldn't look at him. Where was he looking?
At first, I think he was looking down. He was staring into the cup. And then after he'd said those words, he lifted up his eyes and he looked around the entire room to every one of us, Judas.
And you all said,
Lord, is it I?
why did you ask that question?
I don't know. I don't know at all. He was so sad when he looked at me, and I always felt that he knew my heart better It's almost as if he suspected, and I suspected myself. All of us were confused and afraid. His eyes were like searchlights right to our secrets. We all saw that we were capable of terrible things. Well, you asked him too.
I had to, didn't I? For a half a second, I had a hope that it wouldn't be me. I hoped he knew something that I didn't, that maybe in the end, it wouldn't have to be me, that I wouldn't have it in me. But it was in me, and he knew it. Is it I, Lord? Whatever you say, he said. And he took a piece of bread. And he dipped it into the chalice. And he fed me. He fed me. And he said, whatever you were going to do it quickly. I walked from this room on freshly washed feet, the taste of bread from his hand on my tongue. I left him. I went out into the night. I went to the chief priests. I had arranged it. They gave me money. I'd asked for money. I'd given up my work to follow him. I'd given up everything that I owned. I needed something to live on for a while. I took the money and I told them that I would take him to him in the secret place in the garden.
Then why did you do it?
I don't know. I did it because he wouldn't act, and I wanted him to act. I did it because I was angry and hurt. I did it for the money. I did it because I could see, any fool could see that he was finished. They were going to get him. They didn't need me. He was going to let them do it. I did it because I was scared of what would happen to me. I did it because I'm tired. I did it because I'm scared of him. I did it because I hate him. And I did it because I love him. Do you see? I don't have a reason. I have a war. I have a war within me. I am war. Jesus of Nazareth is the casualty of the war within me. What happened after I left?
Well, we finished the meal, and then we sang together. He asked us to go to the garden with him. James and John and I went in to pray with him a little further, and he was rather quiet and sullen. He seemed to want us there, and yet he went away a little further beyond us to pray. James thought he heard some sobbing, but John and I discounted that. The three of us talked for a while. It was a beautiful night. Why, the reflection of the moon on the olive trees was peaceful, like the moonlight on the water. The breeze was almost cool enough to cause a chill. We got too comfortable there, and the three of us fell asleep. It couldn't have been long when he came back to us. Could you not watch with me just 1 hour? Oh, my drowsiness confused me, and I didn't understand why it mattered that we slept. It had been a long, eventful day. And as he went back into the garden, I heard James mumble that he thought he could hear that the look in his eyes proved that he was crying. John said that he ought to come to us any second time, but I didn't know it because we had all fallen asleep again. We awakened to the voice, but it was a weak voice. There was not much voice left, really. He said, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Behold, the hour is at hand."
That's when I came in.
Yes.
You were asleep. I was in a sort of a sleep. It felt like a dream, as if I was outside of myself, watching. I couldn't believe I was leading this huge mob to capture him. There were so many of them. But why did they need so many? I told them, I said, you don't need this many people. There were more than 100, bristling with swords and spears and torches and clubs. You would have thought we were off to capture a fortune. Not to take some unarmed teacher saying his evening prayers. How frightened they must have been of him. I was becoming frightened too. My choice to turn him in was like opening a door, and all of this rage and hatred came tumbling out. It was beginning to dawn on me that I just might have opened the doors to hell. He came crashing into the clearing, and there he was, and there you were, Simon. You looked so scared.
Oh, I was scared, and you looked...
Yes, tell me how I looked.
You looked small. You looked sick. The truth is, looking at you, I kind of thought that I was looking in a mirror.
You did well, Simon. You did well to pull your sword and try to fight. I knew it was useless. I heard him rebuke you. But it's what I would have done. You and I were the only ones with the courage to do something. That if I had a hope left that he would do something, it died the instant I saw him. It's true in a way. I never saw him look more regal. But I tell you, Simon, there was something in his face that looked as if he had already died. He was limp. His shoulders were stooped. He looked elderly. But as I drew close, I saw that there was a fire in his eyes, and those eyes burned deep into me. "Friend, why are you here?" he said. He called me friend, and he asked me why. I kissed him. I kissed him because I told him that I would. I also did it because I love him. Do you believe that? Do you believe that I love him? When I first started struggling with dark feelings about him, and I began to be afraid that I might somehow choose to hurt him, I told myself, no, Judas, it's all right. You won't hurt him. You love him.